Elizabeth Kubler-Ross once wrote, "The most beautiful people we have known are those who have known defeat, known suffering, known struggle, known loss, and have found their way out of the depths." Last year, as we prepared for Yizkor, we were nearly 1 year away from October 7th. And now, a year later, it has been, without question, a difficult year. And yet, there have been so many joys. I'm blessed to serve as your Director of Youth and Family Engagement, and I've witnessed remarkable moments: new births welcomed, weddings celebrated, teenagers stepping into roles as teachers, young people graduating and heading to universities, carrying this community with them, impactful social action programs, art created, prayers shared, and friendships deepened. Whatever your role in this community, I'm certain you too can recall moments of joy and symbols of hope, growth, and resilience. But it has been a year of challenge, some of it deeply existentially challenging. The war in Israel and Palestine continues. Anti-Semitism has surged in ways we haven't seen in some of our lifetimes. The political fabric of democracies we trusted feels increasingly fragile. Climate change accelerates beyond predictions, and technology shifts so rapidly, we wonder what work, what creativity, what human contribution will mean in 5 years' time. And woven through all of this, our private struggles, our doubts, our questions about meaning, our moral wrestling. Recently, I came across an article that gave language to what many of us have been experiencing: The Psychology of Spiritual Struggle by Kenneth Pargamont and Julie Exline. They define spiritual struggle as experiences of tension, conflict, or strain that center on whatever people view as sacred. And they identify 6 types: divine struggle, demonic struggles, doubt struggles, moral struggles, ultimate meaning struggles, and interpersonal struggles. And every single one shows up in our sacred texts. First, divine struggles: anger at God, disappointment with God, feeling abandoned or punished by the divine. Jacob wrestles through the night with a mysterious being. He emerges limping, wounded, renamed Israel, one who wrestles with God, but alive. The struggle itself becomes his identity, his blessing. The second, demonic struggles: the fear of evil forces, of malevolence at work in the world. The Israelites stand trapped at the Red Sea, Pharaoh's army bearing down, and they cry out in terror, "Were there no graves in Egypt that you brought us out here to die in the wilderness?" It's the sense that evil is winning, that oppression and cruelty have the upper hand. The third, doubt struggles: confusion about what we believe, questions that won't go away. Abraham, preparing to sacrifice Isaac, must have wrestled with doubt. Is this really God's voice? And how do I know? Fourth, moral struggles: the guilt of falling short, the tension of not living up to our own standards. Moses strikes the rock in anger instead of speaking to it as God commanded. One moment of moral failure born from exhaustion, from frustration, and he loses his ability to enter into the promised land. The fifth, ultimate meaning struggles: the existential crisis. What's the point? Why does any of it matter? Kohelet, the author of Ecclesiastes, gives voice to this with brutal honesty. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. And the sixth and final, interpersonal struggles: hurt by religious community, anger at religious institutions, conflict with others about what's sacred. The prophets, Amos, Isaiah, Jeremiah rage against the religious establishments of their day. Their interpersonal struggles with religious institutions become the very voice of moral clarity we now hold as sacred. All 6 types right there in our tradition and passed on to us as wisdom. And this past year, as Jews living through this particular moment, we have material for every single one. Divine struggles, where was God on October 7th? Demonic struggles, the sense of evil forces mobilizing against us. Doubt struggles, can I still believe what I once believed? Moral struggles, the impossible ethical dilemmas around the war and civilian suffering, the al-Khaitz taking on new weight. Ultimate meaning struggles, does anything I do matter? Interpersonal struggles, the fractures within our own community about Israel, about Palestine, about what it means to be a good Jew right now. If spiritual struggle is inevitable, if it's part of the Jewish condition, what determines whether these struggles break us or transform us? Well, Pargamont and Exline propose that the answer lies in wholeness. When I read their description, I immediately thought of the Hebrew word shlemut, from the same root as shalem, whole, complete, and shalom, peace. Not the absence of struggle, but integration, a capacity to hold all the pieces together, even when they're in tension. In my work as a hospital chaplain, I've learned it's not the people with the strongest beliefs who navigate crisis best. It's the one who can engage with their struggle, who can sit with the questions, wrestle with the doubts, face the pain without shutting it down. The engagement itself creates resilience. Pargamont and Exline break wholeness, shlemut, into 3 specific elements. The first element of wholeness is breadth and depth. This is about having access to many resources, many ways of understanding and coping. The Talmud teaches that there are shivim panim la Torah, 70 faces to Torah, 70 ways of interpreting, understanding, and approaching the text, approaching the sacred. The second element of wholeness is life affirmation. This is about maintaining a fundamentally hopeful orientation, even while fully acknowledging suffering. Not toxic positivity, not everything happens for a reason, but the insistence that suffering doesn't get the final word. Think about our blessing over bread. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, who brings forth bread from the earth. But bread doesn't come from the earth. Wheat comes from the earth. Bread requires human partnership, the planting, harvesting, grinding, kneading, baking, blessing. The blessing acknowledges both, what we're given and what we make of what we're given. Life affirmation is insisting we still have hands to shape meaning, that love still matters, that showing up still counts, that everyday life begins anew. In this moment, the war continuing, anti-Semitism rising, our own painful disagreements, life affirmation is the audacious belief in peace, in continued human creativity and connection, in the power of caring for one another. It's believing that these things matter and then allowing that belief to move through our hands in the relationships that we tend, in the justice we pursue, in the moments of beauty we choose to create, in our refusal to let despair dictate our actions. The third element of wholeness is cohesiveness. This is about having an authentic guiding vision, developing weaving wisdom, the capacity to know when to hold on and when to let go, when to speak and when to be silent, when to act and when to wait. Cohesiveness doesn't mean resolving all contradictions. It means developing the wisdom to navigate complexity, to weave all the threads, even the frayed ones, into something that holds. Jacob becomes Israel, one who wrestles with God, and he limps forward with both a blessing and a wound, both. The wrestling leaves him changed, marked, but also blessed and more whole, precisely because he engaged rather than fled. Your spiritual struggles are signs that you're awake, that you're engaged, that you're wrestling with what matters most. I want to leave you with one more thought. When we can name which specific arena we're wrestling in, whether it's divine struggle or moral struggle or doubt, we're also naming what isn't struggling. You might be questioning your moral clarity while simultaneously feeling deeply connected to this community. Or you might be wrestling with doubt about what you believe while still feeling certain about your purpose. When we differentiate which part of our spiritual life is under strain, we can also see which parts are holding strong, and those become the foundation we stand on while we wrestle. May you find breadth and depth enough to hold whatever you carry. May you feel the life affirmation that insists that your life has meaning and your presence here matters. And may you discover the weaving wisdom to integrate it all into a life of shleimut, of wholeness, that doesn't require perfection, but asks only for authentic engagements. Gemar Chatzima Tova, may you be sealed for a year of wrestling, of wholeness, of blessing. We continue on page